Welcome, curious minds. John Norman Collins, also known as the Michigan Murderer, was a serial killer who terrorized the Ann Arbor, Michigan area during the late 1960s. One of his victims was 18-year-old Karen Sue Bainman. The disappearance of Karen Sue Bainman. On July 23, 1969, Karen Sue Bainman, an 18-year-old college student, disappeared under mysterious circumstances. She was last seen hitchhiking along U.S. Route 23. Her disappearance set off a frantic search by family, friends, and law enforcement. Discovery of the body. Unfortunately, Karen's fate was discovered on July 26, 1969, when her partially decomposed body was found in a field near a farmhouse. She had been brutally murdered, with evidence indicating she had been sexually assaulted and strangled. Investigation and arrest. The investigation into Karen Sue. Bainman's murder led to John Norman Collins, a charismatic young man with a dark side. Collins was a student at Eastern Michigan University and had been known for his involvement in various social circles. He was a suspect in a series of brutal killings of young women in the Ann Arbor area. Collins' trial and conviction. In 1970, John Norman Collins was arrested and charged with the murder of Karen Sue Bainman. During his trial, evidence linking him to the crime was presented, including witnesses who testified to seeing him with Karen on the day of her disappearance. The prosecution presented a case built on circumstantial evidence, as direct evidence connecting him to the crime scene was limited. Despite the lack of direct evidence, Collins was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Impact and legacy. John Norman Collins was suspected of being responsible for the deaths of at least 7 young women in the Ann Arbor area during a span of 2 years. While he was only convicted of 1 murder, his case captured the attention of the public and left a lasting impact on the community. Collins's crimes and the fear they generated had a profound effect on the sense of safety in the area. The case of Karen Sue Bainman and the larger series of killings attributed to John Norman Collins remain a somber reminder of the potential dangers that exist within seemingly ordinary communities and the lasting scars left by those who perpetrate acts of violence. John Norman Collins was born in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. His family later moved to Birmingham, Michigan, where he grew up. He came from a seemingly normal middle-class family, and his upbringing appeared unremarkable. However, beneath the surface, a darker side was beginning to emerge. College years and charisma. Collins attended Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan. During his time there, he gained a reputation for being charismatic, good-looking, and charming. He was involved in various social circles, and his outward appearance masked his true nature. The murderous spree. In 1967, a series of brutal murders of young women began in the Ann Arbor area. The victims were abducted, sexually assaulted, and killed in gruesome ways. The fear that gripped the community was palpable, and the police faced immense pressure to capture the perpetrator. Arrest and conviction. On July 30th, 1969, Collins was arrested in connection with the murder of Karen Sue Bainman, one of the victims. The evidence against him included witnesses who had seen him with Bainman on the day she disappeared and circumstantial evidence linking him to the crime scene. Despite the lack of direct physical evidence, the case against him was strong enough to proceed to trial. In 1970, Collins was found guilty of first-degree murder in the case of Karen Sue Bainman. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This conviction was the only one he would face, despite being suspected of involvement in the deaths of multiple young women during the same time period. Impact and notoriety. The string of murders attributed to Collins had a profound impact on the community and beyond. The fear and paranoia that gripped the Ann Arbor area during this time left an indelible mark on its residents. Collins's case highlighted the potential dangers that can lurk beneath a seemingly charming exterior and emphasized the importance of vigilant law enforcement. Later years and speculation. After his conviction, Collins remained incarcerated. There have been speculations about his involvement in other unsolved cases, but definitive evidence connecting him to additional murders has been elusive. Some interesting facts about John Norman Collins. Charismatic facade. Collins had a charismatic and charming personality that masked his darker tendencies. This ability to project a likable image allowed him to blend into various social circles, making his crimes all the more shocking. College life. During his time at Eastern Michigan University, Collins was involved in campus activities and was known for his good looks and social skills. This made him inconspicuous and unsuspecting to those around him. Multiple victims. Although Collins was officially convicted of only one murder, he was suspected of being involved in a series of brutal killings of young women in the Ann Arbor area during the late 1960s. The actual number of his victims remains a subject of speculation and debate. Fear in the community. The string of murders attributed to Collins instilled fear and paranoia in the Ann Arbor community. Residents became vigilant and cautious, altering their daily routines due to the perceived threat lurking in their midst. Investigation pressure. The unsolved murders put immense pressure on law enforcement to identify and apprehend the perpetrator. The high-profile nature of the case made it a priority, but the absence of definitive evidence made the investigation challenging. Circumstantial evidence. Collins's conviction was based largely on circumstantial evidence, including witness testimonies and connections to the victims. The absence of direct physical evidence like DNA played a significant role in the case. Trial and sentencing. Collins' trial was widely covered by the media, and his conviction in the murder of Karen Sue Baineman resulted in a life sentence without the possibility of parole. This outcome brought a sense of closure to the community, though the full extent of his involvement in other crimes remained uncertain. Speculations and unsolved cases. Despite his conviction, there have been speculations about Collins' potential involvement in other unsolved cases. However, concrete evidence connecting him to additional murders has been elusive, leaving some questions unanswered.